Abortion, a very controversial topic, and I'm going to give you my opinion. And I know I'm going to get hate for this, but I really just don't give a shit. I am pro choice. The reason I'm pro choice is because I think that a woman should get to choose whether or not she wants to have her baby. I don't mean that it's the right decision sometimes. I mean, sometimes it can be right, sometimes it can be wrong. But I think in a lot of cases, when a woman, say, there's certain, okay, in most situations, if a woman gets pregnant and she doesn't know she's pregnant or that she got pregnant, she should probably have the baby in most situations. And if she doesn't want it, she can give it up for adoption and put it in a foster home or orphanage. I've had several friends that have been in foster homes and stuff like that, and it's not that bad. Um, but I think that in some situations, it is completely understandable and completely right for them to get an abortion. The first example would be if she gets raped, which is pretty obvious. If she gets raped, I don't think, I mean, she can keep it if she wants, but I don't think that she should have to look basically in the face of her rapist, that the person that raped her. I mean, when you look at the baby, she'll always remember that's how she had it. She was raped. And so I don't think she should have to go through that if she doesn't have to. So I think she should choose if she wants to get an abortion with that, because since she was raped, it wasn't her fault. She was forced to go through that. She was forced to have sex with the person. So I think that they should get to choose because they didn't make that decision. The rapist did. Another situation would be if the baby is going to be debilitated or something like that. Like, if the baby's not going to have a normal life and is going to be hooked to machines its whole life, or it's going to be, just suffering all the time and just, completely mobilitated and just won't be able to function properly. Like, I'm not saying if it has like Down syndrome or Asperger's or anything like that. I mean like severe. If it has something minor, like not minor, but like something not as horrible, like autism or something like that, I think that in most cases you should keep it. But definitely if it's just not going to be able to do anything and just basically lay in bed all day or hooked up to machines all the time and being in a hospital waiting all the time, I think that's kind of selfish of the parents to keep that child suffering its whole life and having to go through that, because I just think that it'd be better for the child and if it just died, because it's hard enough for you and for the child to have to go through that. I mean, that's painful in that situation. And I think most people would agree with me. I personally, if I had to go through that, I'd rather be dead. I'd rather be dead than have to go through that kind of pain and torture and suffering. I'd rather be dead than hooked up to a bunch of machines and not be able to do anything my entire life. Mentally and physically would be horrible. And it's another thing, another example is if the baby's going to die anyway, like say it was born without a lung or a liver or whatever, and it's going to die, you wouldn't want to have a bunch of complications later on, so you'd want to get rid of it before there's any problems. So that's another example why you would, abort it or kill it, whatever you think. That's another example because it's going to die anyway, so there's not really a point. I think there are certain examples also that are kind of controversial that sometimes they're understandable and sometimes they're not. Like if the baby, or if the person is a teenager or younger than that, even a preteen, and she gets pregnant and she's in school, college is a little older. I don't think you should do it then. But if you're in high school or middle school, then I think it would be understandable if you wanted to have an abortion since you're still a kid, basically. I think that if you're older, like say 40, and you get pregnant accidentally, and even if you're like a rich businesswoman or something like that, and you already have a bunch of kids, it still depends on the situation. Like if you're rich and have a lot of money and and you have a big job or something like that, I still think that you should probably have the baby in that situation. I do. But I think if you had a bunch of kids and you didn't have a lot of money and you were older, I can understand why you wouldn't want it, because it would just be, you'd have to take care of your other kids. So why have a kid that you're not going to keep and say you're going to put up for adoption anyway, or something? And then why would you spend all that time and money just, having it and giving it away? Then, because you don't have a lot of money anyway. So I think you'd want to possibly, if you wanted to, you could abort that because you already have enough stress going on in your life. And I know some people will say, some people will say that, my mom, I'm glad my mom had me because if she aborted me, I wouldn't have lived. So you'd want to do that the same for your child. You'd want to give your baby the chance to live. Well, I agree with that, but there are certain situations where it's understandable. Like I just said, all those examples are understandable situations, which some people agree and some people won't, that you should definitely have a child. But, it's very controversial, like I've said, and many people, I have had discussions with this in class, and many people agree with it, but many people don't. A lot of people don't, actually. Some people say it's murder. And it kind of annoys me it disgusts me how people, they can't have an honest discussion and talk about the subject or topic. And there's always a fight. There's always a controversy. No one ever has to, they don't have to agree. They can disagree if they want, or they can agree. And they just yell at you, or they say you're evil or murderous or a killer or just crazy if you have one opinion or decision about something. And I am fine with people being pro-life. I'm fine with people being pro-choice or whatever, anything. I'm not judgmental about that, but I think people need to keep an open mind about things. And I think especially if someone has to say they have to or they should abort a baby, in my opinion, that people shouldn't give them a hard time about it because it's already a hard decision for them to make anyway. It's an awful decision. It's devastating for her and a child. So I don't think people should give them crap about that. I don't consider it murder, and I don't believe that it's really a human. Some people think it's a human right when it's conceived, but I don't think so. I think it's more midway through the pregnancy. I'd say more 4 or 5 months after we get to the second half of the pregnancy. I think it's definitely more of a human than it was before. Before, I think it's more of an organism or something like that. Definitely 9 months when it's a full-term pregnancy, then it's definitely a baby when you're about to give birth, obviously. But halfway through, I'd say, is when it's definitely more of a human. But right when you have it, I don't think it's really human, so I don't think it's that bad. But, so, I think it's definitely midway. I don't think that people should give them a hard time about that, if you can get it, though. But I don't understand why people have such a issue with this subject. I feel like there's more important subjects that people should be mad about, but for some reason, it's like a really controversial topic that everyone just has a strong opinion on. Whenever you give an opinion, someone gets mad about it. So, we were talking about this in class a few days ago, in my history class, which is also, we have to talk a lot in that class and give our opinions on a lot of things. And surprisingly, the teacher actually talked about abortion, which surprised me. And he was a guy, and can give his opinion because he's the teacher, and he had to, sort of. And he said he was pro-choice, which I'm not surprised because he's liberal, and he's a liberal Democrat. But none of the guys spoke. None of the guys spoke at all besides the teacher. A lot of the girls spoke in the class. It's majority of the class is girls, but there's still quite a few guys in the class. But many, many, many of the guys did not speak. Not all of them spoke, but many of the girls spoke. And most of the girls that spoke were pro-choice, which surprised me. I thought there'd be more pro-lifers, especially here in New Jersey, but it's kind of surprising. But I think it's more just the reason most of them were pro-choice that were girls is because they're the ones going through it. They're the ones that have to give the baby, go through the pregnancy and the birth, and they're the ones that have all the pain and have to deliver the baby. So it's up to them because it's their body. It's coming up to them. It's up to their decision. So I think a lot of the men are kind of small-minded about it and closed-minded, and they don't go into perspective of what if they had to go through that. So I think that's why a lot of men are pro-life, because they're not the ones going through that. They're more just watching. So I actually spoke, though. I was the only guy that spoke, and I said I was pro-life. And most people there agreed with me. Some didn't. But it was a mature discussion where nobody yelled. We just gave our opinions and talked about it. So, yeah. I'm pro-choice. I think it should be the woman's decision. But I'm open to other people's views, and I definitely think that there are certain situations where the baby should be aborted, but there are also many situations where it shouldn't be aborted, and you could keep it or give it up for adoption. So that's my opinion, and it's very strong, but thank you for watching.